Third oral question, Lord Groker.
My Lords, I beg leave to ask the question standing in my name on the order paper.
My Lords, the Government is thoroughly reviewing the position it's inherited before setting out more detailed plans in due course. This includes our position on HS2 Phase 2 safeguarding and on the land that was previously acquired for HS2's cancelled phases. Any land acquired for Phase 2 that is no longer required will be sold in line with Treasury rules through a disposal programme.
My Lords, as the Minister knows, my noble friend knows, when Rishi Sunak cancelled the northern leg of HS2, he did that in the full knowledge that substantial sums of money had already been spent. So can, firstly, my noble friend tell me what his estimate is of precisely how much had been spent before the cancellation? And so that money is not entirely wasted, can he give the House one clear assurance, which I'm not sure he did in his first answer, and that is that the Government will at least protect the route of the line to Manchester, including retaining land already purchased? Because I'm sure he agrees that in so doing he will make it much easier for any future government, hopefully this one, to complete the project, which should never have been cancelled in the first place.
I thank my noble friend for his supplementary question. As reported by the National Audit Office, by March 2024, £2.3 billion had been spent on Phase 2, which, as he says, was cancelled by the previous government. No property on the hastily cancelled Phase 2A has yet been disposed of, and the Government is carefully considering what to do. He'll know, and I know too, that railway infrastructure lasts 150 or more years, so the right thing to do is to have a considered long-term plan for the benefit of the economic growth, jobs and housing in this country.
My Lords,
nobody will know better than the Minister as to the importance of capacity as far as that rail line is concerned, particularly the capacity that goes from Handsacre up to Crewe, which has already now gone through this House in legislation. Can the Minister tell us whether there is a time limit on that legislation, as there is sometimes on planning permissions, or whether that legislation stands good for a government that wishes to seriously concern itself with the capacity that is so vital on our railways if we are to shift freight from road to rail?
I thank the noble Lord for his question, and I recognise, as he does, the capacity limitations of the West Coast Main Line north of Handsacre. There is a time limit. I cannot offhand say what it is, but I can certainly write to the noble Lord McLaughlin about it. The Government intends to work out what to do and to say what it is going to do before any expiry of those powers applies.
Can the noble crossbench? Can the crossbench? Thank you.
Keep going.
Can the noble Lord the Minister tell the House whether land acquired in this way, where it is to be disposed of, will be offered back to the original owners of it? And can he comment on interviews I've heard where people have been offered the opportunity to buy back the land, but at prices considerably higher than they were offered or indeed given when the land was compulsorily acquired from them?
My Lords, I know there's a process to be followed, and I will have to write to the noble Lord to both explain in detail what that process is, and in particular on the allegation that people have been asked to pay more for their land when it's been offered back than they were offered in the first place. But I will do that.
My Lords, the Minister, the noble Lord, the Minister will know that since the cancellation of HS2, the mayors of Greater Manchester and the West Midlands have collaborated in commissioning and producing a report for the construction on a similar alignment of what is referred to as the Midlands North-West Rail Link at considerably lower cost than HS2 would be. Would the noble Lord the Minister give the House an absolute assurance that no land will be sold that would be necessary for the construction of that proposed rail link until the government has had the time to assess it and give it full consideration?
I am aware of the report that the noble Lord refers to. It's an interesting report. We recognise the concerns about connectivity between Birmingham, Manchester and the north of England. We will consider advice and engage with the mayors and the detail of the report. And of course we will give ourselves time to do that before any precipitate action is taken on the land concerned.
My Lords, does the noble Lord the Minister agree that part of building a modern railway should surely include level boarding in order to make disability access available to everyone? And does he therefore share my concern that many of the stations planned on HS2 were not to have level boarding, and in particular, would he reassure us that the government's review will look at level boarding access at Old Oak Common Station, which will be a major point on the route?
I thank the noble Baroness for her question. I'm as aware as she is that level boarding is a really important consideration for many people, including those with disabilities. However, even in respect of HS2, it's a complicated subject because there are relatively few HS2 stations, and as it's now configured, those trains will serve many stations on the conventional railway network at which platforms have been at differing heights for as long as they've been built, in some cases going back to the 1840s. But the point she raises is really important. The point she raises about Old Oak Common is important, and the point at Old Oak Common is equally complicated because Old Oak Common will not merely serve the new HS2 trains in their new station, at which level boarding will be relatively simple, but will also serve trains on the conventional railway network on both main and relief lines out of Paddington, which have themselves several different floor heights. We do need to crack this problem, and I'm very sympathetic to the point that the noble Baroness raises. But it's more complicated than it might sound. But she is, I will give her the assurance that she wants that we are really actively considering it, because building new railway stations is very expensive, takes a long time, and we should try to get it right.
Budget.
On the 31st of January 2017, I put an amendment down in this House to the HS2 bill, which, if passed, would have stopped it there and then and saved us all an awful lot of trouble. 26 of your lordships understood and supported me. Unfortunately, the bill went through. The result is the chaos we've known. The project was never a good idea. Hugely expensive at the expense of the NHS and all sorts of other things. It warrants quite a little bit of talking, this issue. It's the biggest one, and everybody in the country thinks it's nonsense. I'll ask a question of the Minister. Can you please do your best with an impossible task, keep us fully updated, and make sure everybody who's been affected by this travesty gets the fairest possible treatment?
Yes.
My Lord, I think it's...
Correct a long-standing injustice that has starved the Welsh public purse for far too long. Does the noble Lord, the Minister, acknowledge that HS2 is an England-only project? And will His Majesty's Government ensure Wales receives the £4 billion of consequentials owed to the Welsh Government that Welsh Government ministers and the Secretary of State for Wales supports?
Yeah.
I doubt the noble Baroness's allegation about support. It's a serious issue, but it's about the allocation of funding. I've answered these questions before, and the position remains